Well, Peter, it's a big weekend here in Pretoria.
Yes, it is. Currie Cup final.
Currie Cup final, and couldn't be scripted better.
Sharks
versus Bulls.
I know, and you know what? We broadcast from the other side of the Boerewors curtain in here in Pretoria, but we are both Sharks fans. So
We are.
Don't know how the viewers are going to react to that, but I mean, who do you think is going to win?
It's going to be tough, but Sharks by 3.
Sharks by 3. Look, I mean, I'm a big Sharks fan, but I'm also a huge Jake White fan. And I just think that he's going to give the Bulls the edge over the Sharks.
Let's talk about it next week.
Okay.
All right, let's get the show going. And for you guys watching us on YouTube and Facebook, welcome. And please remember that this is an interactive show, so you guys are more than welcome to share your thoughts and ask your questions. If you have anything in line for Pierre, please keep it in mind for later. And your thoughts on the review and the Jeep and everything that's coming, please interact and be part of the show. That's why we do this. So let's get into this week's news. Right, Pizza, breaking news this week is that Peugeot is entering the bakkie segment in South Africa.
A very tough segment to break into. We've seen a lot of manufacturers try.
Come and go.
And come and go, yeah. So, it's going to be interesting to see how the Peugeot features and fares. But I've got to say, just from having a look at the pictures, typical Peugeot, the styling is amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. So this is called the Land Track, and this is a collaboration between Peugeot and a Chinese manufacturer called, and I hope I say this right, Shangang?
Shandong.
Wasn't that Shaka Zulu's brother?
No, man, that's Dingon.
Oh, Dingon. Okay, so Shangon. And this bakkie will be available in 3 body shapes in South Africa. It will be a single cab, a double cab, and also a chassis cab.
Yeah, and what's the power output of this particular bakkie?
No, power output, I'm not 100% sure. Do you have that with you?
I don't, but it's a 1.9 litre turbo diesel and a 2.4 litre petrol.
Yes.
And I've got a little bit of a concern about that, Fanie. You know, it's a bakkie.
Yes.
And a bakkie we're going to be using to tow stuff, to carry stuff.
Yeah, so this has got a payload of 1.2 tons, spec, and then a towing capacity of 3.5 tons.
Yeah, and again, with respect and love in my heart, the 3.5 tons is theoretical in my opinion.
Sure.
You know, the body weight and the brakes and all those kind of things will cope with it. But again, when you're towing that kind of weight with a 1.9 litre turbo diesel engine, I think you're going to struggle. The
1.9 turbo and the 2 litre turbos are putting out decent amount of power.
They are, and I mean that's always the counter argument, is that it's new technology, the motors are putting out a lot of power, but you must remember that with the small displacement motors, they only put that power out at a very narrow band of revs.
Sure.
So again, I've got to say, I think that it's obviously the way all manufacturers are going, and there's environmental reasons for that.
Yeah.
But I just don't like to see it in a bakkie.
So this collaboration with the Chinese manufacturer, there's a picture that you wanted to show.
Yeah, because I mean this is going up against the Hilux after all, and there is what it's based on, which looks like a Hilux.
That does have a little bit of a Toyota vibe going on there.
Yeah.
I like the blue mags.
So, look, I just think that the product that Peugeot's got out at the moment is brilliant. I mean, I think the 5008, for example, must be rand for rand, spec for spec, the best SUV in the country.
Agree.
So I just think that as long as Peugeot back it up with a strong dealer network, which they are building up, as we know, let's give this bakkie a chance.
Okay, moving on. The next thing that I want to talk about is BMW M5 CS.
Whew, I can't wait for that to come out. I've had the privilege of driving around with a mate of mine, Christo Evangelo, from Infinite Drive in the current M5.
Yeah.
And that was incredibly impressive. I could not believe actually the performance and the grip levels out of the M5. So I can't wait to see what the CS is going to do.
We had the privilege of having the M8 competition here not too long ago, and that was pretty impressive. So this will do 0 to 100 in 3 seconds and 0 to 200 in 10.3 seconds.
I mean, again, I think you've got to almost get a fighter pilot's license to drive this thing. It's just incredible numbers. But I mean, I got a question for you, Fanie. And maybe we throw it out to the viewers, is what does CS stand for?
Yeah, let's throw that out. So viewers, you at home, if you know what the CS in the BMW M5 CS stands for, you can throw that into the comments below. Yeah, don't Google it. You guys need to know it. Let's see what you come up with. So this is the most powerful car that they've ever produced. It's a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. It's 467 kilowatt.
Again, you know, you're talking Formula One type of power.
It's insane.
In a road car. Oof.
It's insane.
No redeeming factors about being poor. Huh?
Now listen to this, and I don't know if this will change, but apparently there's only 5 of these cars coming to South Africa in the third quarter.
Well, I think respectfully, there's only about 5 people in the country that can afford it. So if you want one, I think you need to start saving now. Or get your tenders out.
Yes.
One of the two.
Yes.
There is a vaccine thing that's coming.
Yes.
So
maybe start a little bit of a distribution business. All right, so that's the news for tonight. Let's move on to our review.
Yep. So we, Vish and myself, took the Jeep Wrangler Sahara out for review, and it was quite a controversial one, actually.
It was probably the most debated car that we've had so far.
And I think rightly so, because this car is almost schizophrenic in what it does, you know. So it's not great on the road, but it's an awesome off-roader. But on the road, again, it's got such cool appeal and functionality that you can do as well. So, yeah, I mean, it really was a tough one to rate.
So let's get into this week's review, and straight after that, we've got Pierre Breytenbach joining us.
Hi and welcome everybody to Let's Talk Automotive. I'm Vishnu.
And I'm Peter.
And today we get to experience, well, we hope, the largest banana I will ever drive.
Yeah, so Vish, we are here to do a review on what I think is possibly one of the most iconic brands and vehicles in the country at the moment.
From 1941, the original Jeep Willy.
Incredible. Okay, so Vish, this is the latest iteration of the Wrangler. So there have been some major changes. Although the vehicle essentially looks the same, there are some fundamental differences. So take us through what's changed on this vehicle.
Well, from what I can see, one of the biggest changes is the bumper. Everything's looking more modern, more slicker. We've got LED lights. We've got these vents.
So
on the bonnet.
This bonnet used to be reasonably
flat. Yeah,
so now
no personality.
Got a nice
now there's
dome
a bit
on
of,
it. Yeah?
Yes, absolutely. It's got these, well, interesting inserts.
Then also the grille, I noticed, has gone through a bit of a change. So that used to also be flat, and now it's got a
bit
curve.
of a curvature, yes.
And on the grille, by the way, I don't know if people realize this, but the grille is quite unique to Jeep. It's 7 slots, and that is a patented design. And in fact, Jeep took Hummer to court because Hummer copied their grille.
How interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the V6 that sits under this.
Absolutely. So as you can see, to undo the bonnet or open the bonnet is quite easy. People might have a concern that anybody can just climb into their
safety
bonnet from a theft point of view, but you can get an optional locking system
mechanism
for this. Yeah.
in there. Okay, that helps. We have baby American muscle here.
Oh, yes.
A V6.
Love it. I mean, you've driven this vehicle a lot more than I have. A 3.6 litre V6. What's the fuel consumption like on this?
Let's not go there. I am staying, my heavy size 12 is on eco mode because even the lightest thrust pushes this past 12, 13 with the barest of issues. But
okay, but it is also a 4x4 vehicle. It's a heavy vehicle.
It's a solid vehicle. And look, let's say one thing. This engine can handle this body, so it pushes it nicely. It thrusts it with reckless abandon, I might say. But other than that, yes, a good offering.
Awesome.
Peter, there's something skew here. Normally, shouldn't you have direct injection for air? Sitting there.
Direct injection?
For air.
Or direct intake. So, well spotted, Vish. You can see that the air intake is in fact pointing to the side. And the reason for that, again, points to the fact that this is a proper 4x4 vehicle. Now, imagine you're doing some serious water wading and you get a nice bow wave going up and it goes over the bonnet and your air intake is facing forward. What's going to happen?
Yeah, you're done.
It's going to suck in all that water, and then you're going to get hydraulic lock and you're going to have a problem. So they do tend to aim the air intakes to the side, and you can also see the way that this has been sealed. So a nice big seal on the front over here, so in case you do get water up over here. And I've noticed even this area over here
On the sides
on
of
the
the bonnet.
sides.
So I'm presuming it's a quick fix for a snorkel then.
It also makes it easier to put a snorkel
Yeah.
on, for sure.
So we're in the Jeep Wrangler Sahara.
Yes, which is the kind of urban life version of the Rubicon, which...
Yeah, the Rubicon's a hardcore one. So for those of you out there, the Sahara is kind of the meek and mild road tires. You can't disconnect the sway bar version of the Wrangler, and the Rubicon is the hardcore, really trail-rated version.
It's interesting though that they would create an urban version, because just from driving this car, it's not exactly the best urban ride.
You know, a friend of mine, a fellow colleague, actually once described the drive in a Wrangler as being equivalent to trying to ride a drunk donkey using a marshmallow as a saddle. And you can feel it actually, because look, it's a ladder frame chassis and it's got solid beam axles front and rear, so
It's not a road vehicle.
It's not a road vehicle.
Let's cut to the chase and say it's not a road vehicle.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, my tolerance for ad nauseum, and when I'm driving, I'm getting car sick. so I don't understand it. I do understand from a look point of view.
yeah.
We will explore that later. It's stunning. But we inside, you're driving it. It's a 3.6 liter, 209 kilowatt motor.
Look, that buys a lot of forgiveness with me, by the way.
Yes, I know.
So I enjoy the motor.
I hear a but. Are you trying to stop? Slow down. Did we miss the turn now?
Sure.
All right, so look, the motor's there. Somehow they've kind of forgotten about brakes. Oh, okay, I think my spleen just ruptured.
Well, I'll tell you,
Just
I'll
slow
tell you
down a
something-
bit, please.
I'll tell you something else that is immediately irritating for me, and I don't know if I could handle this on a long distance drive. Is the footwell on the driver's side?
There's no space.
Is incredibly small.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I have
Did you
no-
not forget me?
I have no place to put my left foot.
Yeah, hello, size 12. Can you imagine? I'm going to be keeping my foot near my bloody knee.
I think they've done a cool job on the interior. I think they've really mashed up fantastically.
Yeah, they've upgraded it.
the modernness, but they've still retained some of the serious requirements from an off-roading point of view. So these grab handles are fantastic.
Yeah.
The only problem with these is your ingress and egress from the vehicle. You've got to watch your kneecaps, you've got to watch your
Yeah, look,
hips.
I must say it's not the easiest vehicle. I'm not even going to attempt us trying to get into the back seat, because I think I'll literally get stuck in there.
But that's why you should buy the four-door version, Bush.
Yeah, I still think I'll get stuck in there. I'm going to look. One thing which is my highlight of this vehicle is the sound system. It's an Alpine 500 odd wattage mechanism that really thumps. And I was told that it's waterproof, so that means if we want to go into a swamp, son, we'd be really well situated. So listen to this. And it has to be Indian. Uncle Cyril's best hits.
What have you tried to do to me?
But listen,
No.
it's good sound. Oh, come on, stop it.
Okay, that'll be better. Maybe that sound system, by the way,
Yes?
would go a long way to explaining the outrageous price tag on this vehicle.
Yeah, okay, let's get back to this. So we import Forex. The only explanation I can come to is dollar-based pricing, and in America, but where are we sitting? Again, now we're coming back to comparatives.
You know, I look at the price of this vehicle is what, 900,000 rand for the Sahara.
Yeah, the four-door version. I think this is about 880 or 870 somewhere. But look, it's above 850, all of it.
It's still a lot of money for a vehicle that is essentially the same iteration of design that's been regurgitated for decades now. And I've got a problem with it. I mean, let's face it, what is the Euro NCAP crash test rating for the Wrangler?
Is numero uno. Si,
A
mi
one.
signor, it is so small. But why would you? Oh no, it's
You
awful.
know what I'm saying? I mean, that puts this vehicle in the same category, let's face it, as a Datsun Go in terms of safety.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's one way of putting it.
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the negative, and you know, we've pride ourselves on the show where we're not beholden to anybody, and we can give our honest opinion about something. So, I do want to deal with that.
Yes. But let's track forward. I think, and yesterday I had to do the shortcuts via William Nichols off-road, the dirt patch, which we won't have time to for today. But realistically, this is where it shines.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think we really need to do this vehicle justice at a later stage when we get the Rubicon.
Yes.
And take that on a proper off-road
Well,
track.
Clincliff's waiting.
Excellent.
But I agree with you. I think that the urbanization of this with normal profile tires, it's a waste of time. It actually is. This is a vehicle that if you're on a farm or if you're in the outbacks or wherever you might be with the Willys Jeep, this is where you want to be, because the off-road capabilities of this is astounding.
Yeah.
And if you put it into that context, then the pricing starts a level of justification.
I suppose also if you are a outdoor type person and you have a caravan or you've got a trailer with a big boat on it,
Or a
something
two-tone
like
shirt.
Oh, okay. I think the vehicle has a lot of value there. There's a lot of fun factor in this.
Yes. Well, of course, you're talking about let's clip off and play Lego.
Well, let's do that just now. So we'll take certainly these two top panels off over here and can have a look. We can obviously remove the entire roof, but it is a bit of a process. I think we'll leave that for another day.
Yeah, and we didn't do the Fanie fit here because we definitely can't squeeze his ass into this.
I think Fanie would fit in the back with ease.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
But what do you mean? Are we going to jimmy him in with the bloody corkscrew and a
yeah, man. You push the seat forward.
and we push him forward.
We'll get him in there, no problem.
In the early part of our test drive, we had a discussion about the space in the rear, and I said, no man, Fanie will fit in there easy.
So we've now got the Fanie.
And what's the Fanie fit like, Fanie?
It's quite squished, boys.
Because there was a serious amount of swearing as you got in there. I think we have to
we have to bleep.
Luckily, we weren't recording audio.
Yeah, thankfully. And I mean, let's just get that shoehorn back because it was hard to get Fanie in.
It was. So yeah, I think if you're going to have more than two people in your family, our suggestion is seriously to get the four-door.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer. Unless you've got two cats and a hamster, it's not going to work.
Okay.
So Peter, how was that?
That was a very interesting review, I must say. I still think that I'm a little bit schizophrenic in my opinion about this vehicle.
Yeah, there's a duality to it, as demonstrated by our optimum ease of climbing this curve. So you first this time.
Yeah, I'm going to say that there are some negatives. I think that we can't beat around the bush that it's got a very poor safety rating, a 1-star Euro NCAP rating. Having said that, the reality for me is the usage of the vehicle is critical. So I'm going to give a 2-stream rating. My first rating is as an everyday practical passenger vehicle. And I'm sorry to say it, but I'm going to...
With this version and these tires?
Yeah. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10 on that. I just simply wouldn't buy this as my everyday car. But my other self, now talking about
the two-tone,
the fun factor of this vehicle, the practicality from a 4x4 point of view, I tell you what, there's very little that can beat this. So my score inverts and I give it a 9 out of 10.
Makes a lot of sense. I would have to agree with you there. I wouldn't give such a low rating as 1. I'll give it a 1+3 because of the sound system. I
forgot about
sound.
that. You know what?
The sound system is well worth the ticket for those hard urban commutes where you're wobbling from side to side. So I'd go to a 4.
All right.
And from an off-road perspective, minus these tires, because I need to put that into the equation, I would also go 9 on it. So 100% off-road potential is incredible. Urban commuting, no. This is a weekend car.
Yeah, 100%.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Vish.
And I'm Peter.
And this is the Jeep Wrangler.
And we will see you next week.
Cheers.
Straight into our guest of the week, and we are privileged tonight to have Pierre Breytenbach, South African actor, comedian, voice-over artist, talk show host.
Yeah.
seen previously in Igoli, Generation 7 de
Everything
Laan,
except Exedingo.
Proesstraat.
Daar sê, well done, vir 'n Engelsman.
Heavy. So, yeah, thanks for joining us on Let's Talk Automotive.
Yes, it's lekker being here, man.
Yeah,
You've got
thank
such a
you.
lovely show. It's
Thank you.
quite an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. So I'm going to kick off with the first question, Pierre, if you don't mind.
Yes, Peter, skip it.
I was going to ask you why you didn't go out and get a real job and if your dad approves of what you do. But
he
I'm
actually
not
told me to take this job, believe it or not. Afrikaner toe I'm doing that. What?
Yeah.
But actually, I wanted to ask you maybe a much more interesting question. My kids and I and my wife were watching The Good Doctor the other night. And my eldest daughter actually brought up a very good question. And she said, it must be difficult enough to try and remember lines on a normal show. But when you're doing a show that's as technical as being a doctor, it must be even more difficult. And I wanted to ask
the jargon.
you, do you have to learn, the script from the front to end completely, or do you take it kind of by scene, like Fanie and I do?
No, seat of your pants. That's
Seat of the pants, I mean, yeah.
No, you need to know at least where the whole story goes. So you need to follow the narrative and the emotional flow of the whole thing. And then you break it up in the scenes, and then you just make a note. And remember, scene 7, we're going to shoot scene 7 first, and then scene 2, and then scene 15, and then 9, and then scene 1. So you need just make a little note, and then you sort of just stick to the flow. And yes, you have to remember everything word for word, but I'm an older actor nowadays, so I get away with a little more.
Okay, so currently we can see you on TV in you said the Getroud met Rugby.
Te oud vir rugby. Yes.
Te
No,
oud-
nee, getroud
te
met
oud vir
rugby.
rugby.
Getroud met rugby. Sorry, it's again the lines thing because I'm older. Yeah, getroud met rugby at this stage. Yeah, it's a soapy. I have become a soapy actor.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
very
Full
interesting.
with drop.
Yeah, there you have no idea.
So I want to ask you quickly on that. So now
Yeah.
if you've got to do a love scene and a fight scene with your on-screen partner,
basically the same
how do
thing,
you
yes.
how do you prepare yourself emotionally for that dichotomy of emotions?
You can't. Because if you're doing a soapy, like movie actors can prepare and they've got just this one day to do a love scene. In soapy, there's nothing like that. You've got 25 minutes walking into the studio, shooting it and walking out.
Jeez.
So, and then 5 minutes later, you have to do a scene on the rugby veld.
Yeah.
With a bunch of oaks. So there's no emotional build. You just have to throw yourself into it and just pay a little sum for your psychologist just to help you
I can imagine.
help you get by again.
So before we get into the real reason why we want to talk to you tonight,
Yeah.
okay, I want to ask a typical question. Can you give us a little bit of some of the highlights for you in your acting career, and maybe some of the funny stuff that happened behind the scenes that we maybe wouldn't know about?
And you've only got 2 minutes to
2
answer
minutes?
this question.
I'll do it in a minute. I can't really remember the funniest stuff. The highlights, it's nice doing everything. It's nice being on stage with talented people, touring the festivals, doing proper theatre.
Yes.
It's nice doing soapies. It's nice doing movies. Ads are nice. Highlight the macchiato ad.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, macchiato.
Is that
Cappuccino.
you?
It's I.
No ways.
Yeah, talking for it.
I'm going to ask you for your autograph.
Yeah. So, and stuff like that, man. And soapies are quite nice. It's nice work. I love, especially during COVID. I love the work, boss. Thanks. So, and presenting is also nice. We did a lot of live TV at some stage every morning. You wake up and the people 2 hours every morning on dagbreek on kyk net in those
Yes.
days. And it was nice, man. Nice.
Okay, so here's the thing. We had Arnold Geertz on the show, and very
Nice guy.
quickly,
Yeah.
I said one evening we were down at Samola Hill Climb, and he was co-presenting, and he was actually standing outside my window and talking while I was trying to sleep, and it sounded like somebody had left the TV on. You know, you recognize the voice. You recognize the voice. The other day I phoned a bank, and I recognized your
That
voice.
begins with A and ends with A.
Yes.
Not the AA though.
Yes. I did do an ad for them, a TV ad. I did the voice. Yeah. Vandag, morgen. Yeah. So I did.
You've
do
got
that
a
voice
very
at some
distinctive voice.
And we did a take, and I said, yeah. I told the director in the booth. I said, no, I didn't. What do you think? She says, maybe a little there, more there. Love this a little more. I said,
Yeah.
doen het gebeur. Balululula. I said, no. Let's do a third one. La la la. I said, that's it. She says, yeah, that's it. And then 8 people of the creative agency, which is like the ad agency,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
very creative. They come in with
In
their
your tail.
laptops. They sit there with their laptops the whole day, and you actually have to say, sorry, can you please just listen to what we're doing? But they're there. Anyway,
Yeah,
8 of them walk in and they go, she says, let me just ask them if they're happy with it, because this was the Afrikaans version. They
Yeah,
never
yeah,
worry
yeah.
about the Afrikaans. They just
Sure.
worry about the English.
Sure.
So, but they're in there for the English. But the Afrikaans is now there. She goes, what do you think? And they say, yeah, maybe let's just do it again. And this one says something, and that one says, and all 8 of them says, take number 27. I said, dankie, ek is nou klaar. And that woman was red in the face. I said, ek is nou klaar. Ek is nou klaar. You have what you want.
Yes.
They used take number 3.
Really?
Yeah. I never got a job from them again. I told my agent, it's like
Wonder why.
kicking a dog at a water bowl. They'll never get at that bowl. It's not the bowl's
We
fault.
seem
Yeah.
to be cut from the same cloth when it comes to that, eh?
Yeah, never get work again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway, so,
yes,
this is an automotive talk
This,
show.
absolutely.
This
So,
is
I mean,
automotive.
we know you're obviously an actor, voiceover artist, comedian, and professional meat eater. But
Very much so.
you also participated in an event that we quite enjoy, and that's the Honda Quest. So, how did that come about?
The Honda Quest is such a lovely event. I missed the first one, and I heard about the Honda Quest the second go around in 2018. I threw my name in the hat, and I got pulled out of 3,000 odd guys. Had 40 people for a boot camp selective thing in the Cederberg. Ach, not Cederberg, eintlik Koue Bokkeveld.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I'm very pedantic when it comes to these kind of things. And ja, Koue Bokkeveld. And crew in the studio. Koue Bokkeveld. Yeah. And we had 40 people going to the boot camp, just weeding out the great guys from the brilliant guys, because they're all great guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
And eventually we were 14 guys competing. And the premise is the company, which is Honda South Africa, they give 14 brand new bikes with 0 Ks on them, with all the extras, and they tell you they're going to take you on an adventure of 2 weeks in the desert. And the first one was in the 2017 Quest was in
Namibia.
in the north of Namibia, Kokoland, Dammerland, which is, have you been there? Jy gaan verslaaf raak, don't go there. And then the other part is, because eventually they went out, that is the guy you see on the screen there. I had to ride behind him the whole time because he's number 13 or 12 or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, the sand and stuff is quite interesting. We went to Namakwa-land, we went to the Richtersveld, we went to Boesmanland, Tankwa Karoo, Cederberg, Moordenaars Karoo. It was quite an epic of 2 weeks, and rather challenging. This is day 2, the sand test. That's my teammate, Rikus Vermeulen, the man with the biggest shoulders, broader shoulders, and the smallest heart, but he's very gruff and tough, and he likes to think everybody's scared of him. That's me. You can see sexy, attractive, yeah, technique, it's all it is. So, but basically, I'll never tell you that I moved near Hiso twice just before that video started, but no one will know.
Yes.
And it's about, eventually you make up, and they put you in teams.
Yeah.
They got 2 psychometric tests before you go.
Really?
Yeah. It's sielkundig, Poppy.
Because this is done over 2 weeks.
Over 2 weeks, and it's to find what is a true adventurer.
Okay.
Okay.
My bike is ready to race. You're not an adventurer.
Yeah.
Or my bike is made of Tupperware and single cylinder. You're not an adventurer. It's what is a true adventure.
Yeah.
It's not really what the bike is.
It's almost and you don't get to vote people off, do you?
No. No one knows what. I mean, these oaks spent 2-3 hours every afternoon after we rode the whole day. From the cooks to the marshals to the logistics people to they all got together, and they literally marked everyone for the day's work for 2-3 hours after every day, and it was an intense thing. And eventually it boiled down to who's a proper adventurer. I mean, who grows? Who do you learn something where you are? The area you're going through. Do you experience it? Do you know the people? Do you go out of your way to help your fellow adventurers? Don't be a poople.
So it's almost like a job evaluation at the end of the
Rule number
of
one.
this.
Rule number 1, don't be a poople. Yeah, like a job evaluation. So the 2 guys that win eventually will then get their motorcycles just put onto their name that they competed in. So,
Wow.
so, yeah.
Amazing.
So 2 Oaks win in our year. It was a guy from the Cape called Claude Duisel, which is a vet in the Cape. He's a lovely human being. And then there is a guy called Mujaki Ramoneng, which was his partner, and he was a newbie in the adventure market, but his heart was open for human beings, and they wanted to experience adventure. And they were
I can
giving
only
it-
imagine that you guys sort of, over those 2 weeks made lots of new friends, and that you guys...
Brothers.
Yeah.
brother, and a sister, because one of them was a lady as well. We
amazing.
made lifelong friends, and it's like Corona, but it never leaves you.
The beer or the virus?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
look at the sexy oaks. Eh?
Yeah,
Team
it's-
Greybeard. We
yeah,
called
but
each
you
other.
guys get proper cameramen that followed you around to make you look good like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's Dick and Din both on their bicycles. It's me and my teammate. But that was through the Tankwa, I believe, and that was on the top of Ganaga Pass, or Ouberg Pass. I'm
How
not
do you
sure.
remember these names?
I love it, man. It's my course.
But look at that.
That's
That is
Karretjies Pass, yeah. Karretjies Pass, me coming up Karretjies Pass, a guy ploeged right in front of me, so I had to stop halfway, so there's a lot of spinning in it.
Actually, looks like people are looking down still at his body.
Probably. We had a bike falling down a mountain, which was rather impressive. These things happen. I actually damaged that one badly.
really.
Don't tell anyone about it.
We won't.
I went over a groot Eysterklip, just dicing the marshal in front of me. The
Yes.
two marshals and me and my teammate, we shouldn't dice.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is not a race.
Yeah.
We told the whole time, and then we diced a little bit. On it.
So
cheers, bro.
you'll probably have seen this video because you participated in this. In the first quest,
Yeah.
the one of the guys that won Shawl.
So,
Did you see him come
Yes,
off?
yes. I know Shawl personally, yeah.
He was off the actual sand in the bush, and he hit a aardvarkgat.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he actually came off, and there was a drone taking video of that crash. It was unbelievable. Got up, dusted himself off, and eventually won the bike.
And
Wow.
on the bike, and the
Yeah.
bike's fine. Didn't, no
Yeah.
scratches or bends or anything.
Okay, so talk to me about sleeping arrangements. How does this work? You oaks are out there in the bush.
They give you a tent and they give you a stretcher, but I mean, and they you've got a bag with your stuff that they put into the 4x4 truck. That's Buffelsfontein, somewhere between the Bushmanland and the Namakwaland.
Yes.
Uh,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's the sleeping arrangement, for instance. That,
you actually
that
sleep
greenery
like
at the
that?
back is the Orange River. This is in the Richtersveld.
Okay.
Wow.
And this is a dune just overlooking the Orange River. You pitch your tent, like if you want to, but I mean, me and my teammate never pitched a tent in a single day. We just
Really?
decided enough's enough. We slept tussen skerpioene and spinnekoppe, baardskeerders, just like that. You just have to make sure that nothing gets into your bag.
Yes.
Because that's a bit of a special surprise when you pull on your brand new clean Oni on day 7.
So you
and
sent us
there's a baardskeerder in it.
you sent us a picture of the temperature, and I thought, well, yeah, you know,
Yes.
but what you told us later was that this was at night.
So that was 7 o'clock at night. It cooled down. It cooled down substantially.
So this was a nice cool day.
It was a nice cool day,
Yeah.
but that's at night, just before 7 at night, when we stopped at one of our destinations. So it was so hot going through the old postal route between the Cederberg and over the Tratra River and the Doring River. The Tratra River we crossed, and I got some water in my boots. The black boots in that sun, and I mean there is shade, but it's this tall. And the whole day you're in the sun, and it's 49, I believe it was that day. I saw at some stage on my bike.
Yes.
And that black boot right next to the engine casing. And now 2 weeks after I got home, I lost the sole of my right foot just because it boiled off that day. So it's lovely. It's adventure. That's what you want. You want to see people. You want to see the country. You want to discover stuff.
Absolutely. So that was my next question. When did this whole adventure thing happen in your life? Because you actually just came back from the Orange River again.
Yeah, we just did a little bit of paddling. I mean, that's like tourist stuff.
Oh.
Just paddling the Orange River.
So the adventure stuff, is
The
that
adventure-
something, is it a full-on addiction?
Yeah, man, I like going into a place knowing that you can make a decision here that if it's wrong, you'll die.
Sure.
No, not but you,
Like marriage.
But yeah, like very much. No, you lose a limb in marriage. But yeah, you'll dehydrate and you might not make it, or
Yeah.
you'll have a break and mechanical, and you know, if you don't have mechanical sympathy, and you might not get out of it.
Yeah.
I like that situation. So then getting out of it and going, I did it, but I did it calmly and coolly, and I learned something, and I'm a better human being for it.
Yeah.
That's adventure to me.
Oh,
Very interesting.
brilliant.
Peter, have you got something else? Because I've got one more question.
Well, just in terms of, obviously this is very, very, you explained a little bit about how to get into the competition. So can anybody enter it?
Yes,
or is,
yes. There's usually it's Honda Adventure Motorcycles. I think it's the Facebook page. People follow that, and on there they just had the 2020 one at the end of the year,
Yes.
the third quest.
Yeah.
Which was the third one. They didn't have one in 2019. Which they also did basically the same route that we did near on. You just keep an eye on that. Eventually, by the end of the year, there'll be an announcement. If you feel like you're an adventure motorcyclist and you want to go and burn petrol and discover places and meet lovely people, then go and do it. If you think you're tough enough. then just throw your name in the hat. I mean, it was almost 4,000 people in the last one that applied.
Yes.
And all adventure bike riders, general, not professional ups.
Yes.
No one's a racer. There were people who were there the first time, they're on the first trip they did on the bike, So.
And do you pay for it, or is it fully sponsored?
Puppy.
I was just asking.
You just pitch up, bring your kit, and they give you a bike. And
Really?
they,
So it's free?
You pitch up, you bring your kit, and they put you on a brand new Africa Twin.
Wow.
And they have an entire route for 2 weeks. They take care of you. They show you all these lovely places. They throw in your petrol even, and you just have a hell of a time doing it. Yeah.
Sure. I think we're going to enter now.
That will be flipping amazing. So, you obviously a biker. What bike's in the garage at the moment?
An Africa Twin. An Africa Twin. I almost bought another one this morning.
Really?
In fact, I'm waiting for the dealer auction to finish tonight, so I see maybe I have a second one.
Really?
Yes. I'll just tell my wife it brought a friend home. I don't know. There's two of them. Fazile has a friend. And the Quest is such a nice thing. Even the main Kunan, you get like a company with the boss of an automotive company, like the president or the CEO of Honda Motorcycles South Africa, Rian Furi.
Yeah.
He decided, well, he can't speak about this and support his market if he's not part of it. He also joined the last Quest. He rode as a marshal along as well. So
amazing.
Struggled sleeping outside, sunbrand, dehydration, book from the scorpion, all of that. Yeah.
Yes, it's insane.
Yeah.
Last question before we get to my favorite part of the show. How do you balance? Because you're busy, eh? So balance the adventure, the acting, the family.
Yeah, my wife asks that as well.
What are you balancing?
Not really, Liffy. You don't sound like that. You are lovely, my Engel. You don't sound like that. And you're not I love you. You do your best. I mean, you have to follow your heart, but you still need to bring the bread home. So, and luckily what I do, I don't really work. I just jaw, and
I'm so glad that somebody's honest enough to say that for a change.
I'm an actor. I'm a professional bullshitter. I've got a degree, but I don't know what it's for.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's no good, really. And people think I am an actor or a singer, a musician in South Africa. No, you're just a bullshitter. We all know, but you're enjoying it. As long as you enjoy it,
I love it.
Perfect.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome answer. I like it. All right, guys, we are going to get into our next segment, and this is called Game Time. All right, so this is the part of the show where Peter just basically is going to lose. It's sort of designed that way.
Is it rigged?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Okay, so this is how it's going to work, guys. And you guys at home watching on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching, you can play along as well. So you just pop your answers into the comments below the video. We are going to show you a partial of a car.
Go.
If you recognize the car, please shout your name.
With new cars or?
I'm going to tell you now. I'm going to give you a tip tonight. Okay. So if you recognize the car, shout your name. I'll come to you. There's 7 cars. Best out of 7 wins. Easy. Okay.
Yeah, what's the tip?
The theme for tonight is, because we've got an actor, okay, so famous TV and movie cars. How easy is that? And it will take us back to our childhood memories, fond childhood memories.
I can tell you there's an orange one in there.
You may be right.
Yes, and can't remember which it's from.
Okay, so this is going to be difficult. I'm going to be very lenient tonight, okay? I'm going to be lenient. So if you recognize the car, shout it, let's go. Right, here comes the first one, guys.
Peter.
Yeah,
Name. Peter, what is that?
It's a DeLorean. It's a GMC DeLorean.
DMC. Well done.
Yes.
Well done. Yes. So that's from Back to the Future, 1981, 1983, thereabouts.
Michael J. Fox and the woman with the grey
hair. It was a pretty cool movie. I actually watched it the other day.
Who never ages, by the way, that old Wimmy.
Yes.
He looks exactly the same age today as he did in those movies.
But how did he get grey?
They dyed his hair.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what the guys at home are doing. Yes, Jonas, Keith, and Bossy, Michael watching with us. Come on, guys. Let's see if you can get the second one.
Peter.
Pierre was first.
That is the Aston Martin. That's an E-Type, isn't it? That's modern.
Yes.
That's modern. No, that's not rigged. This is just I'm just me
Yes,
busking. I'm
yes,
busking.
yes.
That's
Yeah, but the half
that's a
points
Bond
out.
movie,
I can
obviously.
tell you which one it is.
It's
for half
Sean,
points.
it's not Sean Connery's. That's a newer one.
It's a
That's Sean
DB5.
Connery's.
It's a DB5.
It's the DB5,
Yeah.
and it's from a Goldfinger.
Goldfinger.
Yes, that's what you say, but it's very disappointing, actually.
I'm gonna,
Oh, you mean the movie?
I'm going to give Pierre the point because I make up the rules.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Goldfinger.
Bianca got that right. William is also watching 007 DB5, absolutely correct. Johannes got Aston Martin. M says that was from Back to the Future. Yes,
They're
yes,
quick.
the guys
They're
are
quick, eh? They're quick.
Yeah,
Quicker than
let's,
us.
Yeah.
let's come to the third one, guys. Fingers on the buttons.
Peter.
Knight Rider.
Ah,
That
yes.
is the Pontiac Trans Am.
Pontiac Trans Am. Man, what a car.
Peter,
Not
so,
really, but-
So you were probably, this is 1983, so you were probably about 50 then.
Yeah, no, I might be. Yeah.
We were still a bit young.
Come in.
Yes.
Come in. Yeah.
Okay, so Pierre, I'm very worried. If you need to have a squiz at my notes here, please, you can.
Yeah. I lose like a gentleman. Eh?
Okay,
Yeah, no,
but I don't take loss as well, so let's get on to the
But
fourth
don't
one.
rig it that badly. Then.
Fourth one coming up.
Peter.
That's the orange one, man.
Peter. That is also a Pontiac and it's a GTO.
It's not.
No.
No.
It's not a Pontiac, no.
A GTO though.
No.
No, the Pontiac is a GTO.
It's got the flag on the top.
Tell me from what movie
Dukes
this
of
is from.
Hazzard.
Yeah.
Absolutely point for Pierre.
Dodge Charger.
The
Peter.
Dodge Charger.
Yes.
Yes, but I gave Pierre the point before you said that.
What? Because he said it was on
From the Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, I
Remember?
said I
That's
was
point of
going
reference.
to
Point
okay.
of reference. I go movies.
So this
and
is all
on
tied
to
up.
Mechanical
Okay.
cars.
This is
Okay.
all tied up.
All tied up. That's
To
the way he
each.
likes it.
Okay, let's get on to the next one.
Pierre.
Pierre is-
I'm
yes.
saying it because I'm still looking for the name here.
Yes.
It's something and something. It's yeah. You know what? I'm telling you what. Take a gap. You can
I'm
go
going to
for
take
it.
a point because he screwed it up.
Okay,
No, I'm not going
so
to. You know, as a gentleman, I'm going to give
Tell
you
me,
an
tell
opportunity.
me
I got no
tell
idea
me
what
the
it is.
movie.
No, man.
The
Tell me
movie.
the movie that's from.
One oak has a leather jacket.
Is it not those two detectives,
Yes.
Starsky and Hutch?
Yes.
Well done, Peter. I'm going to give it to you. So that is a Ford Gran Torino.
No, I would have never known that.
Torino, sorry, I got
Torino.
it wrong. Torino, Gran Torino.
Gran Torino.
I got in the new Ford. The new Ford is the Torino.
The steering wheel is absolutely.
Torino.
What's a Tornio?
The steering wheel is absolutely useless on that. Obviously.
Yes. Absolutely, Starsky and Hutch. So this is now getting into dangerous territory. 3 to Peter and 2 to Pierre.
I think Peter needs to win.
Fritz will now switch off Peter's mic and we're going to the 6th one.
Oh,
Peter, and I'm going to say the movie's from Ghostbusters.
I think you're wrong. I think it's something else. Okay.
Let's go. Peter,
Oh, it is
absolutely-
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I thought it was Pulp Fiction, but okay.
So guys, I actually didn't know that this is a Cadillac and it's a millimeter, something like that. But anyway, Cadillac, it's a Cadillac. So Peter's actually
There's
won.
no way that he can lose now.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Is it? But that's your life, isn't it?
But let's give Pierre a consolation and see the last one.
A participation prize. Peter.
a Herbie.
I'm gonna give Pierre the point because he said it's Herbie. So it's
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what? I'll win like a gentleman and give it
be
to
a
him.
a about it.
Yes,
Just come
yes,
on, yeah.
yes.
He's
well done. Let's see what the guys. Yes, Bianca got
Ghostbusters,
Ghostbusters,
yeah.
and Johannes got Ford Fairlane. No, that wasn't right. Bianca, yeah, wasn't that Dukes of Hazzard called also General Lee or whatever it was called?
Yes,
the General Lee, yes.
the vehicle's
Yeah.
called the General Lee, and it's quite controversial because it's of the flag that's on the top.
on the top, yeah.
Okay.
Everybody
okay.
seems to get upset about it. I don't know why.
yes. You.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us, Pierre. It was lovely
Yo.
to have
It's
you on
been
the
such
show.
a pleasure.
That was
It's
really
more than I
awesome.
expected. I watched the program and I thought, yeah, but it's actually very nice being here. No.
Thanks
But
for
you know
joining
why? You know why it is? That with your episode tonight is because Fanie and I have been practicing in front of the mirror.
Yes,
Scene
yes.
for scene.
Yes, we've been
In front of
practicing,
Minna.
and what we're also going to do is work on our South African accents.
Because it's
No,
very-
I'm
it's
going to be an
very South
Australian in the next
Australian.
episode.
This
Good day, mate.
Typically South African,
It,
isn't it?
it is very South African.
Yes.
But anyway, guys, that brings us to the end of that segment and takes us straight into how things work. And in tonight's segment, we are going to learn more about disc brakes. And this is proudly brought to you by Suzuki Auto South Africa.
Welcome to Let's Talk Automotive, and in this week's episode on how things work, we are going to be having a look at disc brakes. So, we know that most passenger car vehicles these days have, at least on their front brakes, a set of disc brakes. We know we've got some drums on the rear, but we're going to talk to drum brakes on another program. So what are the basic components of our disc brakes? Well, obviously we have our brake pads. Our brake pads are housed in a brake caliper, and then we have our brake disc itself. So let's start off with the brake pads themselves. The brake pads technology has come on in leaps and bounds. In the old days, the compounds that we used to manufacture the braking surface area used to be made out of asbestos. Now obviously those days are gone, we're not allowed to use asbestos anymore. So designers had to come up with better friction materials to cope with the high demands of braking. And when I talk about high demands of braking, you must understand that all the kinetic energy that exists in your vehicle when it's moving is dissipated in the form of heat through your brake pads and brake discs. So these two put up with an enormous amount of stress and heat. So the materials are critical. So we get three basic types of materials that we use on our brake pads. The first is an organic compound. And by the way, that organic compound explains why if you've been braking heavily, you can sometimes smell the brakes and it smells terrible. And that's actually the decaying organic material that's decaying as a result of the heat. The second type that you get is based predominantly on a metallic compound of materials. And the different metals that we use, including copper, give the brake pads some nice characteristics. Now, there's always advantages and disadvantages for either, so most of the brake pads that we see these days actually have a compound of the two. So we have organic material, some carbon, and some metallic materials in here, and that gives us some nice all-round characteristics, including the brakes being nice and quiet, the ability to stop a vehicle quickly, as well as some longevity. Now the second major component is obviously the disc itself, or the rotor, as it's technically known as. Now this can be made up of any number of different materials. Obviously on passenger cars, the majority of discs are manufactured out of cast iron, and I'm going to talk to some of the effects that that has on us. But we can also have these made out of ceramic. So some of our hypercars initially came out with ceramic brakes because they can put up with a lot of heat and stress. And then we see a lot of our supercars come out with carbon ceramic brakes, which have a few better qualities, including being able to brake instantly without having to heat up first. And then on some race cars, including Formula One cars, we see full carbon brakes. Let's get back to the discs that we see on our passenger cars, which are predominantly made out of cast iron. Now, one of the things that we often pick up on brake discs is the concept of brake shudder. And a lot of people think that the brake shudder is due to the fact that the disc itself has warped. Now, unfortunately, that's not the case, because cast iron physically cannot warp. It is either straight or it's going to break, one of the two. So what causes brake shudder? Well, very simply, what we find with brake shudder is that we've had uneven wear along the surface area of the disc. Now, what causes that? Well, when we've been braking excessively and we've built up a lot of heat in the brakes, what we often do is we get to a stop street or a robot and we keep our foot on the brake. Now, as I said to you, all the energy, all the kinetic energy is being dissipated in the form of heat. So there's a huge heat buildup that exists now between the brake pad and the disc. And if we've kept our foot on the brake, we're creating a nice heat sink over here. And this then gives the opportunity for the disc to soften at that point. And so we get uneven wear throughout the disc, as I've said. And that uneven wear doesn't have to be a lot for brake shudder to occur. In fact, anything more than 0.07 of a millimeter difference in the height of the disc from a thickness point of view will in fact cause brake shudder. So to prevent that, all we've got to do is make sure that if we have been braking hard, that we do give the brakes opportunity to cool down by simply coming off the brakes or just braking softly for the last half a kilometer or so of driving. But if you don't have opportunity to do that, then when you do get to the stop street and you're stopping, take your foot off the brake and then put on your handbrake, which activates the rear brakes. And of course, the rear brakes don't have anywhere near the amount of heat buildup that we find on our discs in the front. Now, another thing that we do find with disc brakes is that the brakes tend to squeal sometimes. Now, what causes brake squeal? Well, there's two major causes of brake squeal. The first is that we need to understand that when a brake pad is activating up against a disc, it vibrates all the time. It's just that most times that vibration and the harmonics that it creates is out of our earshot. We don't hear it. The cats and dogs might hear it, but luckily we don't. But there are a few circumstances that can occur that cause the harmonics to now come within our ear range, and we hear that in the form of a squeal. So what can we do about that? Well, depending on what's caused it, if we first have a look at maybe the dust buildup that's occurred in our caliper, remember that our caliper is also a free floating device and moves around a bit. So if we've got dust that's built up, whether it's brake dust or dust from the road and dirt from the road, that can change the harmonics of the vibration or the frequency of the vibration on the pad, which then brings it into earshot. The second thing that can cause brake squeal is if the brake pad itself has got so hot that the bonding agent starts to discharge and it causes the disc to get a bit of a glazing effect, and that changes the frequency of vibration. And so the way to get rid of that is to perhaps give the disc a light skimming. The other thing that we can do, obviously, is to make sure that we fit the brake pads correctly first time. Now, you'll see on this brake pad over here, it's got a nice spring that locks the pad into place. And a good technician, what they will generally do is also pack some copper slip or copper grease on the back of the brake pad itself. So when it seats up against the caliper wall, it also makes sure that the pad doesn't unnecessarily vibrate. One of the things that you would have noticed on this disc is the fact that it's actually made up of two rotors, and in between this disc over here you can see these vents and these veins, and this is in fact how we cool a disc. So the air is going to come in through here, there's going to be a heat transfer, and it's going to be expelled out with the movement of the disc itself. A lot of people confuse the cross drilling that we sometimes see on a disc, or the slots that we see, as being the thing that cools the discs. But actually, that's not what those are for. So you would have noticed that our cross-drilled or slotted discs are predominantly seen on high-performance vehicles. And what that does for us is that, as I've already said, when the brake pad gets incredibly hot, there is a gaseous discharge that occurs. And what happens is that rapidly expanding gas actually parts the disc and the pad away from each other. So no matter how hard you brake, there's very little contact that's taking place. And that gives us an effect that we know as brake fade, where there's very little braking. Now with the cross-drilled or the slots, that gas is allowed to escape and therefore causes the brake pad and the disc to now seat again and returns our braking to normal. So a lot of questions we get include, why are the calipers and the brake pads positioned in certain areas on certain vehicles? Now this is a very interesting topic, and there are a number of design reasons why we would place the caliper in different positions on the disc. I'm just going to talk to the main one in my view, and that is all to do with the auto binding effect that we get out of our caliper because it is a floating caliper. Now, I want to take you back to your school days when you rode a bicycle, and you would have noticed that the front brakes on your bicycle were positioned in front of the forks of the bicycle, because you know that if you'd put them behind the forks, what would have happened is those brakes would have locked and you would have been over the handlebars acting as Superman quite quickly. Now, it's exactly the same effect when it comes to our brake caliper position. So on 99% of rear-wheel drive vehicles, if we have a look at the front brakes, which is where all the braking action takes place, you will notice that in fact the caliper and the pads are situated behind the center of rotation. And that's because when we brake, the brake pads and the caliper are going to lock into position and auto bind, which means we now can have a smaller brake pad and a smaller brake caliper, which means I've now got less weight on the front wheels, which aids the handling of the vehicle. Now, unfortunately, it's very difficult to achieve that effect on a front-wheel drive vehicle for the simple reason that in addition to a drive shaft, I've also got a steering arm to consider. And that steering arm is normally behind the center of rotation, which means that I've got to position my caliper in the front. So quite a few interesting things to consider in terms of our brakes. They're a very, very important safety feature on our car. And once again, our suggestion to the viewers out there is don't compromise when it comes to the quality of the items that you use to repair your braking system. So that's it on our disc brakes, on how things work, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you very much, Prof. Pete. That was very insightful, but I've got one noise that you didn't mention that I just want to discuss quickly.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so it's a noise that when your wife comes to you and she says to me, baby, when I brake, there's a noise on the brakes. So like, yeah, what kind of noise? And she goes,
And you want me to diagnose that?
Just what kind of noise is that?
Well, that's a noise that she missed her service interval, and that the brake pads are now metal on metal. Good luck.
That's correct. So now it's discs and pads
Yeah.
and everything and everything.
Yeah.
Just wanted to let you know about that noise that you missed. All right. Okay, so now your favorite part of tonight's show, and this is Tappet of the Week.
Yeah.
And keeping into our Russian fans from last week, which was awesome, I think this is also a bit of a Russian flair. Let's have a look. So what could possibly go wrong?
And somebody didn't walk in front of that vehicle to test the dent.
Nobody went inside to check what's going to happen there.
I like the way the guy's holding on the
Yes,
bumper, like he's going to stop it
definitely gonna
from
stop
actually
it.
falling
He's
in.
definitely going to stop it. And this is where it gets interesting and very similar to last week's video. There's the driver popping out.
At least he's got a smile on his face. He obviously didn't like that car.
But I think there's a lot of vodka involved in this.
But I'm telling you, Fanie, after the show, I'm going to tell you a true story.
He's smiling.
I'm going to tell you a true story about how that happened at Pierre and Fanie when it was still full of water.
Really?
Yeah. And a customer. It involves a customer who complained about rust.
Oh,
I'm
really?
just going to leave it there.
So that was this week's Tappet of the Week. What a lovely video. We really enjoyed that. I see a lot of the guys watching on Facebook also enjoyed that. All right, Pete, so that's episode 34 done and dusted.
And next week, we've got I'm looking forward to this. We're going to speak to Edward Cottrell.
Yes.
And he and his son are building a mini Indy car from scratch. Everything that they are doing, everything. It's an amazing project. So we can't wait to go and visit them and get them on the show.
We can have the M8, the M8 competition that we had. That review is going to be on. And then for our viewers at home, we are launching our next viewers competition this week. So please keep an eye out on Facebook. And it's that awesome prize that Jaguar Land Rover gave us. They experience either Jaguar or Land Rover.
Yeah. And then also, just to answer our own question,
Yes.
Janse put an answer in terms of what does CS stand for on
Yes.
the BMW CS, and he said it was, if I go back, competition something, hey? Competition sport. What did he say?
I'm also looking for it quickly. Janus,
But-
competition spec.
Sorry?
He said competition
Competition
spec.
spec. Okay. So, no. It is
Club sport.
club
Yeah.
sport. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Now everybody's learned something, me included. All right, guys, that was it for this week. And thank you very much for joining us either on YouTube, Facebook, on raceday.tv, FS Media, on our Facebook page, Let's Talk Automotive. We'll be back here again next week.
Cheers, everyone, and keep it safe.